Ever wonder why we have two different words for the exact same plant? You've got marijuana and you've got cannabis. What's the deal? Well, it might seem like a simple choice, but trust me, the story behind those two names it's fascinating and it's deeply political.
All right, so let's just dive right in. The big question here is, why the two names? And more importantly, does it actually matter which one you use? Spoiler alert, it absolutely does. The answer to that question, well, it pulls back the curtain on this incredible story of science, politics, and honestly, one of the most successful propaganda campaigns in US history. So, to really get how this all went sideways, we've got to go back, way back. See, before all the drama and controversy, this plant had just one name, a single universally accepted name.
And that name? It's cannabis. Simple as that. It's got roots in the Greek word cannabis. And for literally thousands of years, this was the term. The scientific term, the medical term. It was precise, it was historical, and everybody, everywhere, knew what it meant.
And I mean, just look at this history. It's wild how far back it goes. We're talking ancient China, the Greco-Roman era. Cannabis was the official name. And get this, even right here in the US in the 1800s, your doctor might have prescribed you a cannabis tincture for pain or insomnia. It was totally normal, just another part of the medical toolkit.
Okay, so if cannabis was the OG, the established name, where in the world did marijuana come from? Well, this is where our story takes a really dark turn. This is where a simple word gets twisted into a weapon.
So fast forward to the early 20th century. Suddenly, this new word starts making the rounds, marijuana. And you have to understand, most Americans had no idea what that was. And that was exactly the point. It wasn't an accident. It was a strategy, a very calculated one.
And behind this strategy, you've got a couple of key players. First, there's Harry Anslinger, the very first commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. Then, you've got William Randolph Hearst, a newspaper giant. These two guys saw a golden opportunity to completely change how the public saw this plant.
And this right here, this shows you their playbook. It's brilliant in a really sinister way. They created two totally separate ideas in people's minds. On one hand, you had cannabis, that familiar, scientific, medical thing. But on the other hand, they pushed marijuana as something foreign, exotic, and dangerous. And here's the kicker. They tied it directly to Mexican immigrants to whip up fear and xenophobia. So, armed with this new, scary-sounding word, they fired up a massive propaganda machine. And its only goal? To create a full-blown moral panic.
The word marijuana basically became, and I'm quoting here, a buzzword to describe the supposed horrors that awaited anyone who dared to indulge. Hearst's papers just went nuts with it, printing these wild, sensational stories about crime, insanity, you name it.
So let's just lay out the strategy step by step. It's like a 4-point plan. Step 1, link the plant to Mexican immigrants. Step 2, hammer home that foreign-sounding name, marijuana, to make people suspicious. Step 3, paint it as this evil import that's corrupting American society. And step 4, and this is the genius, evil part, completely sever its connection to the cannabis people knew and trusted from their doctors. And look, this campaign wasn't just some abstract thing about words. Oh no, it had real, devastating consequences that would go on to shape American policy for the next 100 years. And it's kind of funny. Over time, the spelling even shifted a little bit, from marijuana with an H to the J we see today. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. That weaponized name and all the fear that came with it was locked into the American consciousness. All of this fear-mongering led directly to this, the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. And just look at the name of the law itself. They used that word. By using that specific loaded term, the government basically made the propaganda campaign official. They criminalized the plant. And the human cost? It's just staggering. We're talking millions. Millions of people, and let's be clear, disproportionately people of color, have been arrested and thrown in jail because of laws that were built on this simple linguistic trick. I mean, the fallout was just huge. You've got decades of demonization, you've got justification for racist and oppressive laws, the plant's incredible medicinal history, poof, wiped from public memory. Even industrial hemp, which is a whole other thing, got swept up and destroyed in all the hysteria. Okay, so that brings us to right now, today. As all that old stigma finally starts to melt away, there's this really cool movement happening to right this historical wrong.
And it all starts with taking back the plant's original proper name.
You're seeing it everywhere now. Advocates, scientists, people who work in the industry, they are making a very conscious choice. They're dropping the word marijuana completely as a way to reject its ugly, racist, and propagandized past.
So why the big push? Why does it matter so much? Well, it really boils down to three key things. First up, accuracy. Cannabis is simply the correct scientific and historical term, period. Second, acknowledgement. By using it, you're actively recognizing and rejecting that twisted history behind marijuana. And finally, number three, restoration. It helps us restore the conversation to get back to talking about the plant's actual identity and its benefits.
At the end of the day, it's really about this simple truth. Words matter. And cannabis is a word that deserves to be reclaimed, respected, and restored. It might seem like a small thing, just changing a word, but it signals a massive shift in how we think about this. So from now on, whenever you hear those two words, you'll know the hidden history behind the choice. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? It leaves us with one last thought. What other words do we use every single day without a second thought that are carrying their own hidden, complicated histories?